Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm getting started on this 57 Chevy, putting the floor pans in, all these floor braces. But before I go any farther, I want to do a bunch of measuring, and I'm going to keep track of all these dimensions and measurements I come up with. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this car up on jack stands as high as I can get it. Now this body isn't coming off the frame, it's not going on a rotisserie, so it has to be repaired just like it sits. I need some height on it so I can access underneath. But the issue is, once I cut all these braces out, this one here, these floor supports, the body may sag a little bit, and I want to make sure everything is in the right place when it gets welded together. Once these are out, the only thing that's going to hold this straight is the outer rocker, because the inner rocker is going to come out. Now, with the roof holding everything together and this outer rocker, I don't really see an issue with anything. But I just want to verify all these dimensions. I'm going to cross measure this, keep track of it. I'll write it down, actually write on pieces of tape. If there is any kind of a movement in these measurements later on, I can get everything adjusted before it gets welded together, before the doors go on. So I just want to have some information so I know exactly what's going on in this door opening here. And also, I'm going to measure across from one rocker panel to the other and keep track of that. Now, I don't think there's going to be any issue with it spreading apart or coming together, but I don't know if this new part is stamped exactly the same. If it's a 1/4 inch wider and I'm trying to force it in, I may cause some damage in here. So I want to know what the cross measurement is ahead of time. The new one may be loose, it may be too wide. I can bend the flanges and adjust it as I need it before it's welded in. So I'd rather have all this information ahead of time before I start, so I know exactly what I'm dealing with when I'm putting it together. Another issue is I'm putting in new body mounts in here, and the old ones are squished down pretty good, the rubber mounts that are all in here. Now the rest of the body mounts in the rear of the car and in the front, I'm not going to do anything with them, and I don't even know if I can get the bolts loosened up. So what may be an issue, trying to get new mounts in here that are a little bit thicker. So the issue is, with the new thicker mounts in the middle of the car and the rest is squished down, there may be an issue there trying to get everything to line up. So I'll deal with that as I get to it. Let me show you how I measure these. I'm going to measure up here right behind the windshield, go down to the bottom of the door opening, and you've got this curve here. So to make sure that I get my tape measure in the same spot, put a pen mark on there. That way I know the center of my tape measure here, so I'm not moving it around. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, and then every other place around here I've got marked. Okay, from my top there, right up by the windshield, down to here is, looks like 54 1/8. So I'm going to write that down. And from this spot here down to here, I'll have another dimension. Okay, and I'll do the same going crossways this way. And then I'll also do the opposite door, do the same thing. But before I do that, I want to make sure these floor supports go in the same spot. So I'm going to make marks on here. That way I know where to line that up. Now this one here has body mounts in it, so that's going to dictate where this goes, but I'm still going to mark it anyway. All right, now I'm going to do a cross measurement here. 65 15/16. Okay, I've got the other side all measured out and recorded. All my measurements are done here. I've got my cross measurement done. I've got the shift lever out of it. I've got the wiring tucked up out of the way. So now I'm gonna get this thing set up on jack stands and start cutting on it. And I know you're probably thinking this floor looks pretty rough, but you know, my motto has always been, if you think it looks bad now, just wait till I'm done with it. All right, I got the car up on jack stands, and I probably spent about an hour getting it set up how I wanted. Now, any type of collision work where you're working on structure, on a unibody, or a job like this where you're replacing the floor, the car needs to be sitting where the suspension is, either loaded or at least your jacking points right next to the suspension. You don't want it jack stands in the middle of the car here and then it wants to sag this way, or you don't want to put the jack stands out on the end of the car and have it bow in the middle. So if you're working in a body shop and you're doing any structural repair, and that could be just replacing a quarter panel, you want to keep the suspension loaded, and that doesn't mean take a floor jack, slide it underneath one corner of the car, pick the tire up, because that puts everything in a twist. Everything should be sitting flat, square, just like it's going down the road. So make sure both sides are jacked up the same. And I'm going to show you what I had to do in the back here. I've got the jack stands on the rear end, but I didn't want the car to be bouncing around while I'm working on it. So I put some blocks of wood between the top of the axle and the frame, and then put ratchet strap on it to suck it down tight so it's sitting on the suspension and the frame can't bounce around. Here's the other side here. And on the front, I didn't want to put the jack stand under the control arm because it'd be bouncing around. I got it in the bottom of the frame right there in the hole where the coil spring is, so it's locked in nice and tight. The frame can't move around, can't bounce. So we're finally ready to start cutting some stuff apart here. You know, if you're still watching the video at this point, I know it's not the most exciting or entertaining video, but the setup on a job like this, or any job, is critical to the outcome of the job. So it takes a little bit of time. It's not the most thrilling work, but getting everything set up correctly and coming up with a repair plan is important. So stick with me, it gets better. When you're removing old structure or any panel, don't throw anything away. And to make it easier to match stuff up, mark everything. This was the left side. Okay, when I grab the new one, I know which way it goes now. I'll just match it up here, put an arrow on it for the front. This is the left side, same thing. I'll do that with every piece I take out. Makes it a lot easier when I'm matching up the new stuff. All right, you can probably see there's another inner rocker in there that's rotted out. I'm going to cut that piece out of there, save it as best I can, use it for a template, cut a new piece of sheet metal to put in there before the inner goes in. So the next video, I'm going to have some more work done in here. I'm going to do all four corners first, go all the way around and get everything cleaned up, trimmed up, just like I started here. I think that'll wrap it up for this video. So thanks for watching.